Good morning. Okay, so I didn't know I didn't know if the orientation gets locked on here. Listen, this is like my first time doing like scheduling out a YouTube live and then doing it. So I was trying to be on best behavior because YouTube is new, trying to make things, more professional, but whatever. I am who I am as a person. So this morning we are sewing the Tate Romper. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. I already have my fabric picked out, but y'all, I'm just waking up clean that lens there, per normal. So we're going to do Tate Romper. This was a very, very popular pattern when I shared a picture of myself wearing it. So we're going to make it happen. I feel like my like lens is super dirty. I'm sorry that I keep like rubbing this. I just want it to be clean for y'all. So let's go ahead, pull up our pattern. As a reminder, I'm sewing with a projector. I should probably also pull up like TikTok and tell the people that I'm over here, but maybe they'll know, maybe they won't. So let's go ahead and pull up this Tate Romper. Listen, this is such an easy sew, super fast. I am going to have to switch out my machine. Maybe not, because I am going to switch things out together. No, I'm not. I'm going to just gather on my sewing machine. Okay. Sorry, I had to sort through some things in my head. Let's see, the Tate Romper. And I'm not sure how many people are going to remember that we're over here from the Tickety Talk, and that's okay. I don't know if we're allowed to play music over here either, which I feel like I should have, I feel like I should have definitely checked for. Alas, I did not. All right, so let's go ahead and open up our file. Now, I will say, I do want to say that I think that the makers, Jess, who did the pattern for the Tate Romper, I love that she made these lines so bold, super bold. Okay, so now I'm just pulling out the sizes that I don't need. And here, this is just so that you guys can see what this looks like. So this is it. When I tell you that this pattern is so simple, it's very, very simple. So I'm just removing the sizing. Now, when I made my denim one, I did do a size 18 as my bust because it had some stretch in it. But because I'm not using a fabric that has any kind of stretch in it, I am not going to risk my boobs not being able to fit in there. In fact, I'm actually just going to go ahead and re-download this. I'm going to take a look at what the sizing looks like. So let's take a look at that. So the body measurements, the upper bust. And it's very odd because my upper bust is in this size kind of 18 range ish, but I'm closer to fitting in the size 20. I do want this one to be a little bit more loose, so I think I'm going to go for this size 22. And just so that you all can see what this, the body measurements in inches is, and in centimeters, honestly. Let's take a look at the finished garment measurements because this is also going to play a role in what size I choose. Let me see, is there a chat? All messages are visible. Okay, it's just because you guys haven't said anything. Got it. So the finished garment measurements for the size 22 is going to be 47, which is actually, we're going to go for the size 22. And I'm gonna just do a straight size 22. As you can see in this hip area, there is a whole lot of ease. So the hip is at this 82.8, which is a lot of ease in the hip area. So we're gonna just go ahead and make a straight size 22, which is making that super easy to cut out. I think that for my tester version, I did go ahead and make a bunch of, like, I did great for my size. So not going to do that this time because I don't think that I need it. I am going to go ahead and raise the rise on both the front and the back pieces, simply because, you know, I do think that I need it. Yeah, I think that I really honestly feel like these are the same pant pieces for front and back, right? Let's actually check and see. I really think that that crotch curve looks the exact same, y'all. It does. So, okay, well, excellent. So we are going to need some lightweight interfacing. I'm not going to interface both sides at all because, oof, do not feel like that. So let's go ahead, rotate our view like this so that we can go ahead and cut it. Boom. I'm going to go ahead and turn my projector on. Now listen, last time I was on live and I used my projector was like acting like it had no sense. And I was like, come on, stop behaving this way. And it was like, no, not going to stop behaving this way. Oh, they've got filters, but the filters on here make you look crazy. Even that glamour one, oh. We'll just go back to no filter. Yeah, we'll just have to enjoy me as I am. Okay. So let's see. I might even plug in my, I'm going to just check the calibration on my projector one more time, because when I was teaching over the weekend, it looked like my calibrations were off. So I just want to make sure that everything is all good with that. Like, where is my ruler? I feel like in the morning I'm sounding a little like Batman. All right, so we're up and running over there. Marvelous, marvelous, marvelous. Okay, so let's see. So I've pulled up, and that is 5 inch by 5 inch, right? You don't think it is, Milkshake? Listen, Milkshake gets on my nerves, but one thing about Milkshake, she can be here for me, which I love and appreciate about her. Thank you, sis. So what I'm doing right now is doing just a very quick, just checking to see where we are as far as saying, because this is the 46%, which I normally do, and that is off. So I'm going to I'm going to change my projection to being 50%, which is what it measured at this weekend. But I'm just trying to figure out who was in my office and when, because this is not what I had to do before. I'm going to go into this full screen mode. Because this pattern has pieces that are so big, going into the full screen mode for my computer and for my view is absolutely necessary. But the good thing is that because the same pattern pieces, the same pattern pieces are basically used for everything. So there is 1 or 2 sets of pant pieces that are the exact same. Oh, okay, and it's a little off of my page, so I hate that for me. Oh no, it fits just perfectly. I love that for me. And then we are going to mark the pockets. We will be understitching those pockets because I hated that I did not do that for my denim romper. And I could have afforded a little bit of understitch situation there. So now it's time to cut, y'all. Let's go ahead, prop y'all up. Turn this around. So put this off to the side-ish so that we can see me. Okay, so I need to get one of those bags that are the I forget what they're called. It's called 4 days. And so with that box, you can fill it up with all of your fabric scraps. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in my mic so that way we can make sure that the volume is voluming. I hope that that was working. Maybe it's not gonna fit. Maybe, oh, there we go. I was like, maybe it needs to be charged, but we're good. I don't know if you guys can hear me better. We're gonna make pretend that you can. All right, so today's fabric choice is going to be an Ankara print. I really am tempted to see if I can get all 4 pieces cut at once, because why not, right? That's not gonna fit, that's for sure. I don't know, y'all. This may not be able to fit. But where there's a will, there's also a way. And listen, there's like no possible way that this needs more than 6 yards. You know what I'm saying? If you ask me how many yards I used for the first one, my answer is simply, I don't know, because, no, I don't. Okay, so I can barely see the lines on this, but we're going to make it do what it does. I don't think that inverting my colors will work, because this fabric is already super dark. But again, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. This just goes to show that even when you've done it once, there's still space to figure more stuff out. Now, of course, these lines were super easy to see when I was doing the testing because I used a lighter fabric. I'm almost tempted to see if I have another 6 yards, but again, because I'm on YouTube, I just want to, you know, be on my best behavior. So I can see. It's just not like, you know, I do kind of feel like I need my spidey vision to make it happen. Okay. So we've got it lined up here. We're just gonna start cutting and hope for the best. Where do I put where are you? Oh, here it is. So last night I was interviewed for a sewing conference that is coming up. It's coming up, and it's a virtual conference. which I love those, right? Because not everybody can, um, like, take time off from work or have flexible jobs where they can actually, oh, that's right, I forgot that. This is lined up with the very edge. Oh goodness, that's rude. You know, not everybody can kind of make it the way that they would like to. So, very excited to be part of this like virtual conference. Moving our pattern up. And now to cut the other set, I'm just going to obviously just not do it this way, but let's see. Can we see where the end is? Yes, I see it. I think what I'm going to end up doing is just putting the pattern piece on top. And seeing about cutting it that way, because that was a little on the hard side. I'm going to swoosh it back down so that I can mark my pattern piece for my pockets, so that I can make sure that that transferred. Then we're really just gonna pop this on back on top of the fabric. Okay, so for my pocket pieces, we're going here to here. All right, so we'll cut out our second piece, our second leg piece in just a second. Let's move on. To our bodice. And we need 4 pieces of this bodice fabric here. So I am just going to cut all 4 of these at once. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and grab perfect. Does that reach over here? It does not. That was not the tear that I wanted. I remember my first time seeing people like rip apart fabric, because you know, if you tear it on the grain line, it tears in a straight line. And I remember being like super scared. I was like, oh man, I could never. Yeah, with some woven fabric, your girl gets to tearing in a heartbeat. But anyway, so last night I was talking on this interview, and so the woman asked me, and it was a really good interview. It was something that I was slightly nervous about, because again, like, sewing is not something that I thought like I would be known for. You know, we need 4 pockets, but I'm gonna cut my straps. We're doing the adjustable straps, and so the reason why I do the adjustable straps is because my my shoulders, I don't want to say that they're shaped weird, because I don't want to call my body weird, but my shoulder slope can be a little finicky, is what we'll say, right? And so what I mean by that is fitting straps, especially non-adjustable straps, can be super hard for me, because my shoulder slope, I slope like kind of forward a little bit. So that makes your traditional go. Okay, sorry. Just wanted to make sure that my cuts were perfect. Haha. I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. I just want to make sure I can fit my pants on here first, and then we'll cut the pockets because the pants matter more than the pockets do. So, and again, as a reminder, I am simply taking, and so this fabric kind of has like two sections. It's got this bottom area here. So I want to do the second set of pants from this top area with all this purple so that it looks a little different. And since for the first set of pants, or this first set of legs, I did the other one, for this one, I want to do it this way. Okay. And so maybe I will turn it this way. That feels better. Okay. Yeah, we are literally just fitting. So again, if you were like, oh, Veronica, how many yards does this take? It's going to take you like a 6-yard cut, okay? I told people that I would take pre-orders for this. And I was like, the pre-order price would be about $200. And somebody was like, I think that's charging too much. Y'all, this jumper takes 6 yards of fabric. I don't think $200 is too much money for a jumper that takes 6 yards, y'all. 6 yards. Six yards plus a zipper install. Wildin'. That's why I don't really like to sew for people, because folks really just don't understand what it takes, like the costs that are involved in making these things, you know? Like 6 yards of fabric, typically, depending upon what kind of fabric, is going to leave you at that $200 anyway. And I'm like, I also get that, you know, I'm plus size, so of course, you know, there's a little bit more. Oh, look, I can see people now. But trust and believe that this 6 yards is not like so far-fetched. All right, so we have this. We are I'm gonna just clip this all together. All right, so we've got our pants, our bodice cut out. I'm gonna do the pockets now, and then we've got to cut out the there we go, bring our pockets forward. So we've got to cut out the pockets, and then we have to cut out interfacing. And then for those who already know the drill, y'all know what's next. A little bit of coffee time. Yesterday I did a live on I'm gonna cut it on this one. You can see this one much better ish. Yesterday I did like a live coffee chat, just me making coffee, because pretty sure I broke my Keurig. So I did some pour over coffee, which I should probably go and turn the water on, because again, we're doing pour over coffee today. Y'all, I'm gonna show you with the scraps that are left behind, but listen, we basically used up all that fabric. There's like scraps that might be able to be used for a quilt left on the floor. All right, so now we're just, I bought a bunch of interfacing from Fabric Warehouse. I think I bought like 3 yards of this because I was like, YOLO. No, but really, I feel like everything that like every pattern that I designed for Nomi, listen, it's gonna have like interfacing in it. Not because I like using interfacing, let me be clear. Your girl hates using interfacing, but it gives such a clean appearance, right? Like nice clean lines, all of that. And so here's the thing, I'm not marking for these notches because I know the distance of them, and it's the same front and back. So, and then the middle notch is literally just the middle of the garment or the middle of the piece, and that's pretty easy to just go ahead and cut as well. All right, y'all, like this interfacing is like, there's a lot of it. I've been trying to put my stuff away, trying to remember to put it away as I use it. All right, friends, that's it. That's it for the cutting. So let's go ahead and turn this off. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Oh, that fell. I'm like, was it even in? Am I just over here on this mic and it's not working? I'm gonna have to take off my case because I know once I start sewing, I definitely would like for people to be able to hear me. So let's go ahead and make our coffee. Do a little chatting. Whew. So one of the side effects of using a projector, I hope y'all's niece cleaned my coffee maker. One of the side effects of using a projector is, listen, that room is going to get hot, okay? It's going to be hot. It's going to be like 1,000 degrees as a result. Oh, snap. My husband pulled out the meat for dinner tonight. What did we have for dinner last night? Oh, I think we might do bourbon chicken for dinner tonight. What are y'all doing for dinner? So this is my little gooseneck, like water situation kettle. That thing heats up mad fast. But look, y'all's niece did not clean out my thing. Y'all, sometimes I really cannot stand these kids. I didn't even plug that back in. So I'm sure that like if people watch this recording, they're gonna be like, did she just make coffee with us online on YouTube? She's making coffee on YouTube. All right, so here we go with that. Now let's go grab our coffee. Kovifi. So I started back working out, and I'm not saying I haven't been able to get up, but your girl's been struggling with getting up. Like yesterday morning, I got up and I made sure these kids had lunch that was made from nothing. It was fantastic because I don't want to say we're anti-buying lunch, but my kids are bougie and they like good lunches. So before I had surgery, one of the things that I started doing was on Sundays, we would pre-prep their boxes of snacks. But because I didn't go grocery shopping this week yet, they didn't necessarily have to do that. But I have them create these boxes that they're able to put like their snacks for the week in there, and then in the morning we just make their like larger like their sandwich or whatever. Okay, so the water is boiling as it does that. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my iron on. But I did not do that this week. And I've just been going back to kind of like making their lunches just from scratch. They didn't necessarily have to do very much in the mornings. But I'm sure that they missed that. And so in their boxes, they would pack their fruit. They would pack their vegetables and stuff like that. Excuse me. But after we're done on this live here, Mama's got to do some grocery shopping. Okay, so we're just going to prep our pieces. This is our interfacing. So I'm going to turn y'all around so that you all can see me press this in place. But listen, as I turn you all around, I want to remind you that I've had this little quilt and press thing like for 10 years, okay? Maybe not quite 10 years, but just about. So it's time to replace it, but I don't want to hear any like clowning, okay? Oof. Sorry, the fabric was on the floor and it's like, I need a new one. I know. But we're going to go ahead and press these out. I only need two. And again, it doesn't even matter which side I do this on because y'all, Ankara fabric, sometimes it really is hard to tell what the true like right side is. And for this project, it's really not going to matter to me what the true right versus wrong side is, because also I don't think I'm going to be able to tell with this. They both look the same to me. So we're going to go ahead and and if you're working with interfacing and you're like, how do I tell the right side from the wrong side, especially with an interfacing that has like one side that is like essentially adhesive, the adhesive side has more texture. Yeah, I feel like it's almost time for me to see my nail person again. And also when you're, I don't want to say installing, but when you're attaching your interfacing, don't press, don't like iron and like go back and forth. Make sure that you're just literally pressing down for the time that the manufacturer directions say, or until you feel like stopping. Okay, so I just heard that our water is done boiling. Okay, so we've got one interface. So this is the interface looking excellent. So this is the second piece that we're going to interface. Is it? No, this is. But now that we know that the coffee is ready for us, let us go make some coffee. Coffee fee. So using a gooseneck water like kettle thing always makes me feel really fancy. If you ever use a pour over coffee maker, make sure that you let your coffee bloom for a second, right? So what do I mean by that? Pour your hot water, your boiling water over the coffee grinds. Let it sit for like a couple of seconds, 30 seconds. If you can wait that long, if not, I understand because I don't like to wait that long either. But good things come to those who wait. And so you're doing this to release the coffee oils, to release the coffee fragrance. And what this will do is it'll create a better tasting coffee. stronger. It'll just have better flavors to it. So you want to let your coffee bloom and open up before you begin to pour the rest of your water over. And then I do like this like little gooseneck here. Let me show you how it looks when it's pouring. For those who don't know the difference. But it has like a slower pour, and I don't know, it just looks fancy, right? Here we go. And it's like, the dripping down is like fantastic. Just very good. We're gonna pull out my Crazy in Love mug in honor of Beyonce being in town for her conference. I mean, not for her conference, but for her concert. Like, girl, who's conferencing named Beyonce? Okay, so I'm gonna just pop my case off of my phone so that I can actually plug my mic in. We'll put you all back in here. Oops. There we go. And then plug that back. Maybe it did connect. Okay. If someone's there, just tell me if I sound better or not. So I really like YouTube and creating YouTube videos, but the consistency and the editing for me, y'all, woo, woo, Chile. Your girl be over here like on the struggle bus, because for YouTube, you know, you got to have things edited and feeling nice. One of the children broke my damn fridge. So today we're using this cinnamon dolce latte creamer. We're about done with this pouring over, and it's time to make our actual cup of coffee. When I homeschooled, yeah, my morning coffee was like a whole situation. A lot of times because it was really like the only time that I had to myself. And I tell you, oh, just right on time. I need some more coffee. Coffee creamer. Right on time for this grocery list I'm about to put together. But I really only had that time to kind of like myself, because when I was homeschooling, your girl would make sure that she was up early at like 5 or 6 o'clock before those minions woke up. Take a sip. Fantastic. I made like a stronger coffee. Oh, it's so good. All right, let's get ready to sew. Oh God, definitely just spilled coffee. Again. Okay, so I need to change out my, oh wait, we got to finish putting on our interfacing. I forgot about that tiny detail. I also need to change out my threads. I have white thread in there now, but we're going to keep the same setup. So right now my machine, my, what is this? My serger, my Bernina is set up to be both doing this, chain stitching, which I guess is what we consider like sewing machine stitches. So right now it's set up to do the chain stitching in addition to the serging of the ends, which means that it's already set up so that I literally am only stitching once, which is something that is super important to me, because one thing about me is I am not trying to make something last longer than it has to. Ooh.
cut this off. Like we have a little snag here. Cut that off. Oh. Okay. So we're going to change our threads though, so that way that works out fine. I do have like this orange blend inside of my sewing machine. If I was a perfectionist, I would change it out to black as well. I'm not a perfectionist though, so I'm going to flip you all around, because what we're going to do over here is I'm going to finish pressing, but then I'm also going to go ahead and make sure that we press, I want to make sure that we press our straps in half, and I do as much pre-prep ironing that I can, because y'all already know I do not love pressing, even though I know that it is a necessary evil. It's just not my favorite. My favorite is like, you know, sitting down at my machine. So I'm going to grab my 4 pieces of fabric here. And so this is 2 of 4. And so I do want to just go ahead and press this. I feel like my iron is a little sticky. It could be, because I definitely was pressing stuff off of. Okay, so I'm going to just fold this in half. So these straps are not done like binding. These straps are essentially sewn right sides together and then turned out. And I feel like when you press it, it just gives a better looking and easier to work with strap. We're going to make our straps. We're going to be basically constructing this entire garment on my serger and cover stitch combo machine. Why? Because I do think that 1, is easier that way. 2, it goes a bit faster. And 3, things, it automatically will, like, I don't have to go back through and touch up my seams, because all of that is already done. And that's what I want. So we've got our second set of straps. Now there is the option to do the non-adjustable straps. Again, I chose not to do that because, 1, I want to make sure that my straps fit the way that they're supposed to. Also, after having this mastectomy, I don't have full feeling in like my chest area. I can really honestly barely feel things. So I want to make sure that as I'm wearing the garment, that if it does slip or if it's a little too low, it's not like a concern, because I wouldn't be able to feel it. This weekend I went to the pool for my nephew's birthday, and I wore this super deep V, very similar to my summer pattern with Nomi. Super deep V, although I feel like mine is not as deep as I wanted it to be. Or maybe it's just because I didn't have my boobs done. But because I could barely feel, y'all, like, I had my husband and my oldest daughter on like nip slip guard. Like, y'all, make sure that my nipples are not like falling out, okay guys? And honestly, I had a very small breakdown. It was small, was pretty accidental. Like, my husband and I were talking one night, and I was telling him, I started off by joking about it, and then I was sobbing about it. So apparently on the inside, it bothers me a lot that I can't feel. Good morning, Melanie. All right. So now it's time to head on over to the machine. We're not going to take anything with us over to the machine because we got to change out our threads first. It's a good cup of coffee. It's a good cup of coffee. Oh, and here's my other phone. Let me charge this phone. So that I can communicate with people on that one too. All right, so we've got our coffee. I mean, not our coffee, but we've got our pants and we've got our pockets over here. So let's go ahead and change these here threads out. So I need 5 cones for the way that this module sets up. All right. Yes, come on, get your coffee, Carm. So we're turning Bernadette on. For those that don't know or who are new here, my machines are named. Bernadette is my serger / cover stitch. For snips and things like that, I'll be using my LDH scissors to do any kind of cutting that I need to do of my fabric over here. I also have the LDH snips to aid in my construction as well. And also shout out to my hair for being long enough to go back into my little two braids, even though last night's sleep completely destroyed my little look here. It's okay. We're okay. All right. So, and I'll flip you all around so that you can see me get my machine together, as long as you don't judge how dirty my machine is, because, whew, listen, you would thought that my machine was not loved the way that she is. The way that she looks. We don't look like what we've been through, though. Okay. Ooh, spilled coffee on myself. Okay. Let me dust her out first. Let me just dust her out first before we go and invite company over, you know. I really need to pause to clean my machines at some point in time today. Yesterday I had to stop work early because I had to go and make sure that my daughter had donuts for school, because, you know, that's the kind of mom I am, right? Oops. I'm going to go back to doing this chain stitch. The interview went good last night. The interview was good. Okay, so I just wanted to show y'all what this looks like. So I'm choosing the 3 chain stitch overlock. I'm doing this right R and RC, meaning that both of my needles are in the right spot for, this is for the serger, this is for the cover stitch. Okay, so that's what my choice is. And so what I love about this is that they absolutely put you through this whole little guide. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, because I do think that like, so I but my friend sent me a FAF cover lock. So it's essentially, I don't want to say the same machine, because listen, there is no same machine to a Bernina, but it has the similar functionality, or it's supposed to, where you are able to both cover stitch as well as serge or overlock, depending upon where you live. So, but Carm, the interview went good. You know, it was cool. I still struggle with the fact that people like want to learn from me to sew and like are interested in my sewing journey. So it's still very awkward for me, because I'm like, wow, that is incredible. Like, huh, you're talking to me about sewing. And I think that, you know, stuff like that happens when you're successful in an area that you did not intend on having that success in, or that's not where you thought you would be going. I thought that I would be known as a sustainability blogger for the rest of my life. No, I'm just joking. Not for the rest of my life, but, you know, just kind of until I moved to the next phase of life, and I didn't anticipate that this was my next phase, you know? No unthreading is required because you know I already unthreaded it. So we've got C11. We're already on 4. Already got that set up. My knife is activated. My cutting width is already adjusted. I've already activated my looper. I've already hooked it out. These things are already done. Now, the one thing that has been tripping me up is this upper looper. This message is held for review. Let's see. Show. It's because Karma's over here using bad words. JK, JK, JK. Thank you, Karm. I agree that I am the ish as well before YouTube come for me too. Okay, so like it doesn't do anything special, so maybe it was just my threading. Maybe it's not the blue. Thought it was the blue. Let's just make sure. I'm lying. I know exactly what it is. I know, Carm, like you out here getting dinged. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like I addressed it last night and I was, you know, talking to the interviewer, Christina, about you know, of course, imposter syndrome. And I don't honestly think that it's imposter syndrome because like I do feel like I'm great at what it is that I do. But it's also like that thing of if someone would have told me that this is what I would have been doing, I just was not prepared for that. You know, just as a flip this down so y'all can see the way these come through. Like as a chubby girl, right, growing up, who was constantly made fun of because of my weight, or I was made fun of because of, you know, how I looked in clothes, because I've got kinkles and things like that. You know, you just never expect to be on the other end. You never expect to have a standard of beauty, or you never expect to have people actually look at you and be like, wow, like I want to dress or look like her, or, you know, I see myself in her. You know, I think that a lot of times when you just are not, you're used to being made fun of for not being that standard of beauty, that when people see it as beautiful, you're just a little unprepared, you know? Come on. I think I need to go get my machine service because this blue thread, we've been having some issues making it through. And it'll come through, but it won't come all the way through. I think maybe it's because of this. Let's try one more time. With that little area disengaged. And it's like, it's going through, but let's hope that helped to clear that a little bit. There it was. Perfect. Okay, tiny blue, I see you, boo. Boom. We're in there. And then we're just going to thread the needles. What was that? That was green. And it's cool because the way that you thread the needles is like how you would thread it if you were like to essentially go through the entire process. Like with one of the threads, like you just kind of follow it through with just one needle of each. So, Julian, that makes me feel better that you need to too. So this here is what you use for cover stitch, and these are what you use for when you are overlocking or when you're serging. So here we go. Because this is going to be my overlock, I'm going to use the upper one, and I'm using the right needle. I don't think I let it go through enough. Good morning, milkshake, again. Thank you so much for rubbing your body on me. Okay. All right. So now we're set up. Tuck these threads behind as well. There we go. And then I trim them down so everybody's on the same starting field. There we go. Now we are ready. So now I'm going to move y'all in front of me because I set my office up a little bit differently so that people could see me while I sewed and see the machine and all of those things. When I set this up, I was like, oh, this is genius. I'm so smart. It did cost me like a couple of inches in my office though. Maybe like a foot off of the wall. But it's worth it to me. Okay, so here we are. Don't fall. There we go. Okay, so let's get ready to sew. So the order of construction for this garment is what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull through my straps first. I'm going to be making my straps. Then I'm going to go ahead and prepare my bodice piece. Now, I want my zipper to be on my right side. So as I'm constructing the garment, I'm going to be mindful of which side of that I'm leaving open, because we're constructing it in a way where you know, that sort of thing matters, because you can't just go through and put everything together like you normally would, because we're putting in an invisible zipper, and it might not even be invisible. I want to be honest about that. We're gonna use whatever zipper I have available. I feel like I have a whole bunch of invisible zippers, so if we do have an invisible zipper, then that's what we'll use. Otherwise, we're just going to use your basic normal zipper. This pattern does call for an invisible zipper, but again, if you don't have it, then we don't have it, and that's fine. We're going to work with what we have, okay? So with that, let's grab these pieces that we did press out over here. Let's get ready to rumble. Carmen, can we use music over here? I feel like we cannot. So I want to be honest, and I want to tell you that I don't know what the seam allowance is. I'm literally just going with whatever my machine is set up for. So before anyone comes for me, I just want to be honest about that, okay? And then I'll show you all what this is looking like, and why having the functionality on the machine where you're able to both do your chain stitch and serge at once is so big. Come on, there we go. So I've just done one stitch. Good morning. And just so that you all can see it, we've got the chain stitch right here, and then we have our finished edge right there. So it has to be unlicensed music. Okay, so I'm like, what does that mean? Is there a playlist for that on Spotify? So as you can see, we did essentially 2 stitches in one. Like, can y'all see? So we've got our chain stitch here, which is our normal or our basic like sewing stitch. And then we also have our edges, as you can see here, sealed off. So very big in my opinion. Good morning. Because while yes, I love to sew knits, the thing that I don't love about sewing wovens is because I don't feel like having to sew it twice or be really good with my scissors to trim things down, right? Now this does take just a little bit longer, like than your normal serge or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like it's worth it. I feel like it's worth it. So during last night's interview, um, it's a woman named Christina that interviewed me. We were talking about like technology and sewing. Because I feel like people's favorite thing to do, of course, is to come for me in my comment section whenever I talk about projector sewing, which honestly I don't care because it just boosts my engagement and shows up for people more, but whatever. YouTube pages that have created playlists you can play in the background from another device. Awesome. Good morning, Kay. I will pull that up in 1 second. Um, but I really enjoyed the conversation, right? Because technology is going to technology. We're seeing the influences of technology everywhere, right? Whether that is in AI coming out, we're seeing the impact of how that's affecting everything, right? Um, so now we're going to turn our straps. Good morning, Angela. Um, so I really enjoyed that topic of conversation because I think that, one, it's okay to be apprehensive about new technology, right? Especially because if you're used to doing things one way, when technology gets introduced, it's something else that you've got to learn. And I don't want to say, you know, old dogs can't learn new tricks, but sometimes it can be really hard. It can be really difficult, especially if you struggled or if you had mastered the original way of doing things. It's like, oh, well, now I've got to learn something new, but I was really good at this before. So now we're turning our straps. I hope that the turning of the straps doesn't take forever. But so we talked, that was like part of our conversation last night, which I thought was really good. And this is an interview that will be, I'll send out emails and share about this on social media, of course. But I really do think that we have to either get on the train with technology, i.e. being able to do a chain stitch and serger stitch at the same time, right? Or we get left behind. And not that getting left behind is a bad thing, right? Because that might be what feels good to you, is to stay true to what you know, right? But I think it's also important to copyright free music. Okay. I'm gonna get on it, y'all, because this turning, let me see if my little turning thing will work out better. But I think it's important that we be honest about our apprehension for new technology, right? Like, is it because we can't do it as well with new tech, or is it because we're afraid that we are not going to be able to follow the new tech? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we afraid that we can't keep up? Are we afraid that we're not going to be as good as we use these things? Are we afraid of the adjustment time that comes along with it? And I think it's important that we be honest with ourselves about that, Let's see. Come on. Let's see if this will work. It's like that initial turn that always gets me, I did this wrong though. And so I think it's important that we're honest with ourselves in that conversation when it comes to tech, in whether it's sewing, whether it is or whether it is just AI, whether it is in anything, right? Because technology is going to technology. That is one thing that we already know. I went out for dinner for my husband's birthday. Y'all, our food was delivered by a little robot. Okay. Like the robot delivered our food. When it came time to tip, I was like, I'm not sure who I'm supposed to be giving this tip to because the robot did the work, you know? It's the robot who did the work. But I think, we should have those conversations. But I think that we should also be willing to see how it is that we can get in. I don't think this is going to work for me because I feel like that was taking longer. I think it's important that we see how we can get in with technology and see how we can utilize it to our advantage. I think that, respecting what came before is obviously a great thing, right? Because we can't go forward without understanding where we came from, whether that's in writing, in AI taking over. And of course, y'all know I'm a writer, I'm a blogger by trade. But I don't feel like AI can replace me, like AI can't tell you an authentic story about parenting. AI can't tell you any of those things, right? AI is not going to show you what it looks like on my body and then be able to describe the adjustments that we made. And, there are certain things that technology won't be able to do or replace, but that doesn't mean that we should not utilize it for what we can, right? Good morning, Javon. So that was part of the conversation for last night, which I was happy to have that conversation because I am someone who I did not love the introduction of AI, right? In fact, I am extremely apprehensive. So what I'm doing is I'm trimming down this top part so it looks like that. Um when AI first came out, y'all, I was like, we should not use it because then what we're doing is we're telling the world that we don't want to put in the work, blah, 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 blah. But here's the other thing. If everybody is so determined to have robots take over, let them do it, I guess. And let's just figure out how we can fit in and learn the technology so we aren't the ones who are the ones being left behind. I was talking to my brother about this, and he's an artist. My brother is like one of the most talented people I know. When we graduated from college, well, one, he's 3 years older than me. I graduated college a year before him. And that's not to say because he's not smart, but that's because he took longer to figure out what he wanted to do. So he was able to be a little bit more intentional when he finally made time for his grades and stuff like that. Like he took a year or two off to kind of figure out what he wanted to be when he grew up. So he was in the work world and stuff like that. For those who don't know, I went to Spelman, he went to Morehouse. So we were always in the same area. Um, but he was like one of the earliest cold fusion processors. I mean, not processors, but cold fusion designers and stuff like that. So he's always been kind of ahead of the curve. And we were talking the other day, and he's always been a techie. He's actually like, I don't want to be in tech anymore at all. And it's wild because when I was pregnant with my oldest, he actually was like, yeah, I'll just take off time and come and take care of you. Right. Like, and hang out. And like, oh, damn it, pulled my fabric through. Um, and so he was able to do that. And even while he did that, y'all, like he had moved to Brazil and stuff like that. Um, he was still like taking care of it. He was like taking care of the things that he wanted to do. He was like living his best life. As a writer, how do I feel about the writer strike? I am 1000% in support of it. I also am almost fully ready to um, also like go on strike with the streaming services, right? Because so for example, everyone right now is like rewatching Suits, right? Do you know that those Suits writers, um, Brittany, I put it in the calendar and in my stories. Um, but yeah, I absolutely support the writers being on strike. Because the writers of Suits, even though it's essentially gone viral right now, especially on, of course, YouTube, um, they aren't going to be seeing the money. And I feel like that's a problem, right? If Netflix is continuing to earn, or if someone is continuing to earn off of the fruits of their labor, and their intellectual property, why aren't they being paid for it? That does not make sense to me. And while I do think that, and here's the thing about the actors going on strike. While I do think that actors should absolutely be paid, I'm also like, I feel like actors make a lot of money. So I don't know. I'm not saying I don't support it, right? And y'all, this is the longest, literally the longest part of this pattern is turning these straps. Um, again, not that I don't think that they deserve to be paid. I am more scared for them because I don't know if you guys have watched that show on Netflix, but it's essentially it's the wildest show, right? Like it's a show that's on Netflix, and the show's basis is that it's a show on Netflix, and it's essentially AI actors in every single version of it, and it's, you know, in every like different version of the TV show or whatever, there's a different actress that is playing the famous actress, right? So when it comes on screen, damn, I can't remember who it's played by because it was such a different role for her. But Salma Hayek is in the movie. Um, the girl who was in Schitt's Creek was in the movie. Um, and she was like the main character. And it essentially like follows someone's like following her, or it feels like someone's following her, but in essence she's just like the actress in the movie. It's wild, but all I know is that it really kind of highlights the potential for AI. um you didn't read past what we were sewing today. Understandable. I don't always read directions either. It's fine, we're not here to judge. But yeah, that movie to me was wild, and I feel like it was almost like Netflix's introduction to being like, we actually don't honor um, the actors and actresses that are out here actually acting. And it almost like set the scene for it, right? Like, which is unfortunate. Especially because like when you think about it, like actors and actresses have really shaped so much of who and what society is, right? What they've made popular. Very scary, right, Carmen? And I feel like it was supposed to be like a comedy because towards the end, like people were expected to laugh, but by the time that like we were done watching it, I turned to my husband and I was like, "That is really scary." Um, and I was like, "I don't like that." Like I get it. We supposed to be over here kikiing, but it doesn't feel a kiki for me. All right, so we have one more strap to turn before we hit this bodice up. And again, snipping this down. Now, y'all know I don't read directions, so I don't know if I was supposed to have already sewn that together or not. We did not, but whatever. But yeah, I feel like technology is both a good and a bad thing. Most of the times I'm here for it as long as it doesn't impact too much, right? I do feel like it can be such a big help for pain points for business owners as well as like just kind of businesses period, right? Because um like one of my clients that I no longer have, in fact, I actually only have one client left that I manage their stuff for them because that is something that I had to get out of, y'all, because people do not have appreciation for social media managers. And people don't know the difference between managing social media, writing copy, creating marketing objectives and campaigns and stuff like that. And that's not all one person. But I was talking to like my client, one of my last clients this weekend, just checking in on her to see how things were going. And she was like, "Girl, I'm struggling, right?" And it's always so interesting to me because I think at that point in time, a lot of times people will really and truly see what it is that you were doing and have a greater level of appreciation. Um, Dejanay and Brittany, y'all over here not following directions. But oh gosh, I forgot what I was talking about. Completely forgot what I was talking about. So, welcome to the live. Who? Can somebody remember what I was just saying before I got distracted? Complete brain fart. All right. That was the last strap. Oh, about people. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, sis. That's right. And so I think that she finally realized like everything that I do. But one of the things that she can do is use AI to write her newsletters, right? Like, or to give her ideas on what to post and stuff like that. So I think in that sense, like it can be really good, especially if you're someone who's like, oh, I can't afford this. Now, it's never going to be better than what a human can do, in my opinion, right? Because I've seen the newsletters that AI has written. I've used it. Never as good as what I can do, though. Never as good as it. All right. Whew. We have 4 straps that have been turned. So now it's time for us to go ahead and prepare our actual bodice. So we're going to take our interface pieces, and our interface pieces are going to be our main pieces now. So we're going to do our right sides together. And if you're like, oh, I didn't label my top, the top versus bottom of the pieces, it goes out. It's very trapezoid feeling. Okay. Remember that your upper bust is typically the smaller part of your body. So putting our right sides together, we're going to go ahead and assemble that. I read that the vast majority of actors don't earn the threshold to get health insurance, about 30K. Yes, very true. Thank you, Dejanay. I don't know how old this fabric is. To add my own flavor. And so also, one of the things that you want to do, so right sides together, right? So for me, if spatially you struggle with what that looks like, put it onto your bodice so that you can see which side it is that you need to leave open. Because as a reminder, we are leaving one side open because of the zipper that we're going to be adding. So if you're like, which side am I supposed to leave open? Just put it onto your body. And then just go from there. So putting our right sides together, let us sew. And here's a better look at what I was saying about how it chain stitches as well as serges the edges for me in one fell swoop, okay? Now we're going to do the exact same thing. I am going to line it up to my bodice because of who I am as a person. Your girl is just trying to get it right. So if I want this, so. Okay, so now it's like, okay, Veronica, but you didn't label where you're going to put, like, where it is that these straps go. Here's the thing about these straps. They are in essence quartered. So if you didn't label it as well, that's okay. So just fold it over in half. We're going to half it. We're also going to mark that halfway spot because we need to have that marked for when we add in our pants so that we can keep that seam lined up together properly. But then we're also going to fold it over again. And so these quarter spots are where we're going to be putting our straps in. So at that spot there. And typically, if you ever struggle with a pattern and you're like, oh, I'm not exactly sure where to put my straps at, normally if you quarter it, it'll give you a good spot to put them in. That is just a trick of the trade that I have learned. I've got a bunch of clips here that I'm just going to continue, like I'm going to move my initial clip here So that way I am able to clip it out on each side. So that way I can also use the same clips to clip my actual straps into place. So now that that is labeled, so we have both of our strap placement labeled, as well as the middle of the part where our oops, forgot to transfer that. That's where our center seam of our pants are going to line up, so that when we put this on, it matches perfectly. Okay. So now I'm going to just take this first piece here. We're going to put our right sides together. Before we sew, I'm going to add in our straps. And I'm just going to clip our straps into place on the right side. So that they're nice and sandwiched in between here. And again, I really feel like the straps take the longest, and that's including putting the zipper in. But it's also because I do use I have zipper feet for each of my zipper types, and I think that that does make a difference. So okay, so now let's go ahead and stitch this into, actually, let me trim this down first, because I'm like, that is going to be in my way for when it comes time to install our zipper. Okay. Whew, excuse me. So now it's important to make sure that your straps are nicely lined up, not bunched up, because that can mess stuff up, okay? Do not let your stuff get bunchy. It does make thank you, Britt. It does make a difference with that invisible zipper. It surely does. Oops. So a lot of times people will ask me why I don't use pins, especially like if I'm using a serger. So I said oops because my clip let me know that it was still in place, and that I wouldn't be able to like move my garment, move the garment forward anymore. A pin is not going to do that, and I can absolutely sew through a pin and damage stuff, okay? And that's not the type of life I'm trying to live. Okay. So now that we've got that put together, we're going to go ahead and flip this out. And as we can see here, our straps are strapping. Okay. And this is perfect because this is exactly how I wanted this to fit, which is to go around and zipper. on my right side because zippering on my left side is so wild. So we're going to put that off to the side. Now it's time for us to move on to our pants, which I did not iron, and that's fine. So the first thing that we're going to do is make sure that we label where our pockets start on each of these pieces, and that we labeled right here with this clip. So again, just going to pass that because the first thing that we're going to do is install these pockets. And so now I have my pocket pieces labeled on each piece. And so it's important to note that even though these don't feel like there's a right versus wrong side, it's important for me to delineate that there is a right versus a wrong side so that I can put my pocket pieces in the right way. The way that I do that is I always have my right sides facing each other regardless, right? So for me, what I'm going to do, because your girl does get absent-minded while I sew because I tend to go onto autopilot. So my first step is going to be to actually sew my crotch curve together just so that there's no way for me to get it wrong. So I'm doing my crotch curve. Oh, I'm hungry. And also because the crotch curves are the same on both the front and the back pieces, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we've got one done. Now let's get this crotch curve on this set as well. So I love the Tate Romper because even though, yes, it's a very summery pattern, you can put on a bodysuit or like a tank top or a crop top and easily make this a winter or a fall transitional piece as well. You know what I think is also really wild with jumpsuits is putting a zipper in the back. There's no way my bladder would be like, all right, girl, we can do this. My bladder would be like, did you forget that you had 3 kids? No. My bladder would straight up be like, I will pee on you. Keep it up. I'm telling you, my bladder will be like, try me if you want to. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add in our pocket pieces now that we know we can't get it wrong. One of the questions that people typically will ask me is, like, do you have shortcuts for how you sew so fast? I think that one of the biggest shortcuts that anyone can take, and this goes for like anything that you do in life, right, is really being completely honest about how you process information. And it's like, okay, Aronica, what does that even mean, right? Because, look at my pocket. Love a pocket, right? My truth is that I tend to miss details, right? I miss details because, one, when, like, I'm a speed reader, I read, which typically means I read every 3rd word, right? But also, I tend to easily lose focus, right? I just lose focus. So when I do things, or the way that I set up like my own personal accommodations for who I am as a person, accounts for my lack of focus, accounts for the fact that I'm not someone who pays close attention to details, right? That's not my ministry. I'm a big picture person. So when you know how you process information, and when you know like what your habits are in doing certain things, you're easier to make the accommodations for yourself with, right? Just like we would be making accommodations for someone who had like struggled with information processing, et cetera, et cetera. Like you have to set those accommodations up for yourself. And I think that not enough of us do that, right? Um, and I think that that is really helpful because, again, you want detail oriented. I am not your girl. It's not me. But that's the reason why, again, I have to do things a certain way. Like my husband, I remember we were ordering like chairs or something. And so I ordered them because also, spatially speaking, not my strong suit. Like if someone is like, oh, you know, this has insert whatever the measurement is. I'm like, okay, like what does that mean? Like I have to be able to see it in order for it to make sense. So you know how like you'll see like those memes where it's like, oh, I accidentally ordered like Barbie house chairs. That's happened to me before. Um, it's happened with my girlfriend who's also a client of mine. Because we were working on a subscription box and she was like, Veronica, I ordered all these really great boxes, except they're like they're miniature boxes because spatially she does not work like that either, right? I'm like twinsies because I would have ordered the same shit. But you know, when you know those things about yourself, it's a lot easier for you to make those accommodations for you and your brain function. Just like we typically will make accommodations accidentally to sabotage ourselves, right? We will do that, but I think that we have to make a different type of accommodation on purpose. Okay, so now I'm just trying to figure out which I want to be my back versus my front. I think I kind of like the way that this is like looking. It almost has like this braided effect, which I think is super cool on the front. So I want this to be my front. So I'm going to go ahead and stick a clip in this because, again, I'm not going to be sewing where that clip is. I'm going to be sewing up the sides until I get there. Woo. Yo. Also, like sewing with a lot of fabric can be super overwhelming. So if that's a struggle that you have, you are not alone. Like a lot of fabric, I'll be like, oh my God. A lot of fabric. It's like knocking stuff over. So one of the things that I really would like to do this year, one of my goals is to be able to monetize my YouTube channel. I have the subscriber count that I need. I have to get my views up, which is one of the reasons why I chose to do this live over here, because at least like while I'm hanging with my people, you know what I mean? Like I can be working towards my goals. So okay, now we're sewing the pockets together. Now, again, I did say this in the beginning. I am going to stitch my pockets together just a little bit more because I feel like it's giving vagina on my denim jumpsuit. So we will likely come over to Brenda to do that. Oops. The message was held for review. Let's see. I need like 81 more subscribers, then I can work on my hours. Okay. So if you haven't subscribed to Julian, make sure that you subscribe to him. Oh, automatically held for review. I don't want to hold it for review. We'll just add you as a moderator. Maybe that'll let it go through. Do you have a certain amount of views, hours, or both? So you have to hit 1,000 subscribers, and then you have to have 4,000 hours of channel views within 365 days. So I'm already at y'all, because I have not been publishing on here. I only have 1,000 views for this year. And I feel like I shouldn't say only, right? But I only have 1,000 hours. But that's just my truth. That's where we are, right? So I've got to get like 4,000 more. 3,000 more by the end of the year, which I feel like is doable. You know what I mean? I think I need my bigger piece, my bigger attachment here. I think that'll help. Listen, Carmen. It's giving pocket scarf energy, and we don't want that. Okay. I'm going to just get this bigger attachment for my machine that will make navigating lots of fabric just a scotch easier. Because again, it's a lot of fabric. And I just feel like this attachment is going to give me a little bit more support that I need, you know? So it is based on each calendar year. Thank you, Key. I'm like, so go ahead, y'all go ahead and listen to Key. Give me some thumbs up. Show me some love. So we've got one leg, or one side leg, I should say, completed. Now we're doing this inner thigh. Now listen, this is definitely like a do as I say, not as I do moment. Make sure that y'all press your fabrics before, especially when you're working with woven fabrics. Make sure you press your fabric before you cut, okay? Okay, so what if you make it one year but not the next? I don't think that it makes a difference. Like, I don't think that you have to maintain it for forever. You know what I'm saying? Good morning, peace. Okay. Y'all, Peace is like literally one of the most beautiful people that I know. Just checking because that made me nervous. Girl, Robin, listen. We don't need for them to revoke our ability to make money. But also, I feel like once you hit the 4K views like annually, right? Like in my head, it should be easier to maintain. I could be completely wrong, right? But like typically once videos start doing well, they like always do well. So like I did a video on this channel that was like where I was talking about like eyebrow threading versus waxing your eyebrows, and it always gets traffic. I still get comments on it now. I recorded it like 6 years ago, you know? So you either have to do it that way or you have to do 10 million views in shorts. I think that's what it is. I just looked at the requirements yesterday when I was setting this live up. Okay. So we've got one more side to do. So we're just going to, whew, yeah, it's just so much fabric. It's very overwhelming for me. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to gather with my setup like this, but I'm probably not because y'all know I'm lazy. That's a lot for shorts, right? For shorts, they're like, look, we going to make y'all work. So, okay. So we're putting the seam in, but I'm just going to start at the pockets. Actually, let's pause and let's see what zippers that we have available to us. Let's see what our zipper situation is looking like. Let's see. Key said, I've helped a few people over the hump. I would play the videos while in a meeting with me. Listen, Key, if you're saying that you want to do that for me, I am accepting of that, okay? Just putting that out there. Anybody who would like to do that for me, we're accepting help. Okay, so we're taking a look to see what zippers are in stock. Part of me wants to just use this bright ass zipper. We're not. I'm gonna save that one for another day. Oh, what's this? Nope, these are all. Is this one? Wait, this one might be a. Nope, this is not. I need a good quality zipper as well. Now, I had ordered like a bunch of invisible zippers like a really long time ago, and I thought I still had them. But every time I go in here to try to find zippers, I don't ever find anything, y'all. I literally don't find anything. So this one is an option if we cannot find an invisible zipper, because I feel like that would blend nicely. Or we could just go with black. Let's see. We'll pull out this black zipper. This is so wild to me because I had like, I might need to check in my drawer where all of these got pulled out of. Ooh, look at me. I've got one invisible zipper here. 24, no, it's a 7 to 9 inch. Ooh. I really feel like I need something that's a little bit longer. I have 1,000,001 all-purpose zippers though. And they're all super long. Aha! I have this pink one, which is also very short. I said aha, like I found exactly what I was looking for, right? I also have this super bright one, which makes me feel very happy. Burst of dopamine right there. Okay, so we're going to move to the drawer that I pulled these from and see if I do have something hiding out in there. And so the reason why I want to check to see the zipper first is because that may or may not determine what I do. Wait, what's this? Huh. Oh, it's a hand serum. That's fancy. All purpose. I want you guys to know that I cannot believe that like my invisible zipper collection has dwindled down. But I found this 12 to 14 inch zipper. So let's take a look at what I feel like is going to be best. Because we have this right here. And I just don't think that this 7 to 9 inch is going to work. So I do think that we're going to go for this 12 to 14 inch. That is what we're going to do. I know, that's right, Key. Key said, I'm calling y'all out. Only 3 people thumbs. Thank you, Key. Thank you, sis. Key said it's morning and I can snatch edges at any time of day. Okay, so I feel like this is going to be a much better fit. So we're going to go for this 12 to 14 inch zipper. So with that, let's go ahead and press this out very quickly. I'm not going to take y'all off. Yes, I am. Because we've got to switch machines too. So we're going to gather on Brenda. Brenda, let's get you set up for gathering, sis. You look ready. Let's gather first and then we'll press. Because then we're going to reattach when we come back to this machine here. And then we're just about finished because then we're going to go back to Brenda to do our install. Okay, whew, everyone's still here. It was me who went away. So what I will say is that you having an invisible zipper foot is going to really make a difference. For the Bernina, it is the number 35, but every machine has an invisible zipper foot. Get it? It makes a difference. Okay, friends? Okay, so let's go ahead, plop you. I also adjusted my other little like gooseneck tripod over here. This one really be trying to make my phone feel like it is like overweight. So we'll see if we can make that work. Okay. I'm like this, the orientation is locked. Okay. So I'm like, let's just, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't like how that's looking. That's not feeling excellent to me. Okay. So we're just going to be doing a gathering stitch over here. So if we can't see, that'll be fine too. I don't want things to like bounce around too much because that can really cause people to feel motion sick. It's me. I'm people. So to gather, of course, I have extended my stitch to its maximum length. Just trim this down. Okay. Now to properly gather, which we're probably not going to do. I don't know if I have the patience to be over here doing this stitch like 2 to 3 different times. We'll see. But you should do a couple of different layers of single stitches so that you can get good and even gathers. Again, Gathering has never been my ministry. Also, Brenda, you sound a little loud, sis. Are you okay? Okay, this didn't take too long. We'll add just another stitch real quick. I should have added my, like, little quilting thing on this one too. So typically when you're gathering, you do want to do like about 3 rows of stitches. I don't know if I'm going to do a full out 3 row of stitches, but we will have at minimum 2 rows of stitches. Sorry, like all of my feet. You ever like straighten up but not do the most thorough job of straightening up? And then it tells on you when you're trying to do something and you're like, oh, why do I keep getting stuck? It's because you didn't straighten up like you should have. That's what's happening for me right now. Now the pants piece is probably a good, like quite literally, and no exaggeration, is probably about a good 4 yards of fabric easily. So that's something to consider, like if you're making this, whether for yourself or for someone else. At minimum, you're probably going to need about 4 to 5 yards. To make mine, again, I think I shared this if you all were here in the beginning, I used a 6-yard cut of Ankara fabric. So if you're like, oh, this is an easy pattern, which it is, again, the hardest part about this pattern is turning your straps out. But if you're like, hey, I do think I would like to sell this, that is something to factor in your pricing, is the fact that you're going to be using a gang of fabric. And there's literally no way around it. There's no shortcuts you can take for this fabric because that is the design. Okay, so here we have the gathering stitch. We've got it on the top. So I'm going to just go ahead and pull these stitches through. And again, for gathering, you're only pulling through your bobbin stitch. My favorite way to gather is on my serger, but I have my serger set up for this chain stitch, and I don't think you can actually gather that way. So now I'm just going through this process of gathering this up. If you're someone who is like, I don't really like gathers on my sides, or I don't like gathers like in certain areas of your body because it makes you feel frumpier or whatever, make sure that you're mindful of that as you're doing your gathering. Yeah, I feel like this gathering is not moving. That's why I like to use my serger. I'll tell you what, Bernadette would never make me work so hard. I'm going to try to gather it halfway on this side and then go to the other side to finish the other gathers that way. Okay. Using this as my measuring point to see how we're doing as far as gathers go. Like, how is that lining up? Looking good. Okay, this side needs to be gathered like literally a scooch more, but possibly not at all. We're going to go ahead and move on to the other side of the gathers, which is the other pant leg, which is essentially where we started from. So much fabric. Okay. Now, when I start my stitches off, it typically just like seals my stitches in. So doing the gather from this side might be a little bit difficult because of that. So what I'm trying to do is not rip up, but kind of pull out my first stitch so that I have access to that bobbin thread. And this is a functionality that you can turn off on your Bernina. I just opted not to. Because I would probably forget to turn it back on. But I did release that first stitch, and so now we're gathering. And so when you do multiple stitches, like on your sewing machine for gathering, you do tend to have a more even gathered stitch, which is the reason why, you know, when you're gathering, you're supposed to do multiple lines of gathers so that you have more evenness about your gathers, so that you don't just have like one area that has especially good gathers and then you have other areas that are flat. Like, you don't want that. Now, I don't want strong gathers by my pockets. For me, I don't want that because I just really want the gathers on the front and the back areas. I don't necessarily want them on my sides. So as I'm spacing my gathers out, I'm taking that into account. And then when I pull up my my front bodice piece, what I'm also taking a look at is where my gathers are in relationship to my centerpiece, right? So we mark the centerpiece here. And so I do want to make sure that there's even gathers on those sides, right? So I don't want it to be so far gathered on one side and then not gather enough on the other side, because when I put it on, it's gonna, like, I'm gonna feel that difference. And so we over gathered this side. So I'm gonna just go ahead and pull some of that out and just move that over some. And resituate my gathers. There we go. Now I'm going to remeasure again. I over gathered it just a touch, so that should be enough. Okay, now it's time for us to go ahead and attach our bodice to our oh, welcome, Catrice. Yeah, so I tried to make sure that it was added in the actual calendar link, or on the calendar. So my apologies, friend. Good morning, Oreo. I see you, girl. Are you hanging out with me? Or did you just pull my stuff down? Because you have no chill about your life. All right, so I'm going to leave my zipper over here because we're going to come back to that. Let's move back over to Bernadette, excuse me. Sorry, Bernie. Okay, putting the camera back in this tripod is not the most glamorous thing in the world. Sorry, friends. There we go. Okay, so now it's time for us to attach the bodice or our top piece. I don't even feel like it's like a full out bodice, so I feel weird just calling it a whole ass bodice. But now we're going to attach our top piece to our bottom piece. Literally just our traditional right sides together. I am going to clip this in place. Now, again, our right side is the side that has the interfacing on it. So just going to make sure that that is lined up. Then we're going to clip it into place to make sure we have dotted our I's and our T's. So when I was doing this jumpsuit in testing, yeah, I needed to be held accountable for finishing the piece, and I accidentally sewed the whole thing on Instagram Live, which is the reason why I didn't do it over there, because I've already done it there. Okay, here we go. So we've got these things lined up. And again, I do want to make sure that my centerpiece is lined up. So we're just going through, and I don't clip, not saying I don't use a lot of clips, but I do really try hard not to over clip things. You know what I'm saying? Because one, it's just a lot. I really be out here trying to do things the easiest and fastest way possible. That's my truth. Whatever. Sometimes the overuse of clips will just completely mess you up. So we have this clipped in enough places that we know that it is evened out. I am using cotton. So for this one, I'm using an Ankara fabric that is 100% cotton. For my first one, I used a stretch denim. So one of the things that I shared when we first got started was that because I had used a stretch denim for that first version, I sized down because I wanted it to fit. Like, don't get me wrong, I love how everybody's fits. It's all like loosey goosey and like hanging out and waving in the air. However, I didn't want that for my boobs. I wanted a more fitted look, and so in doing that, I made sure that my denim like fit snugly. You know what I mean? But for this one, because there is no stretch at all, right? Like I don't dream of stretch in at all. I did go to kind of like my regular size. And because there's so much ease in this pattern, if you're like, Aronica, what is ease? Definitely check out my beginner sewing playlist on TikTok. But because there's so much ease in this pattern, I did not feel like I needed to grade it at all. So we're doing the same top and bottom pieces, which is nice, right? Because if you typically have to heavily grade your patterns, sometimes it's nice to just be like, oh, I'm not grading this for anything. I don't have to do that. So for me, that's just a nice feeling to have. Okay. I know that's right, Will. Will said I was on there. Okay. So now we've got our top and our bottoms attached. Oh, goodness. This looks so good. Ah! So amazing. It's so amazing to be loved. Now, listen, as you're attaching your top to your bottom pieces, please, please, please make sure that your straps are pulled out the way. Because what can happen is if you don't make sure that they are tucked out of the way, either one, they can get caught up in, like, especially if you're using a serger, they can get caught up in there and get cut off. And that's not what you want. Or they cannot be pulled completely out, and then you're left with your kind of straps sewn on the inside. Not what you want either. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put in our invisible zipper. And yeah. So Carlene, I used a stretch denim. It was a lightweight denim that I got. I wish I could give you all a link, but there's no link for it. That one was, and we'll actually just take this tripod on over here with us. That one I got from Fine Fabrics, which is local to Atlanta. They don't do any online ordering. And honestly, that romper was like super cheap to make. So yeah, I do put some patterns on the back. Well, honestly, oh, excuse me. I won't always put a pattern on the back burner that I have to grade because sometimes, you know, we just are like, let us grin and bear it. Not all the time, though. All right, so I will flip the camera for this because we are going to go ahead and put in our invisible zipper. It's funny because sometimes I really have a fear of putting zippers in, and then I have to remind myself that for almost a year, all of my garments had invisible zippers because I was breastfeeding. And so instead of, you know, making those breastfeeding like tops that you like lift up and they were all flowy, because one thing about me is that I've always loved a more bodycon fit. I literally would just add in an invisible zipper in the side seam, and then I was like, we'll just make that pop that way. So just trying to get you all set up with a quality angle here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change out my foot. Okay. So this is the invisible zipper foot. Let's pop this baby back on. And then we're going to be using this invisible zipper here. Like, where is the side? Okay. So just trying to figure out where both my front and back pieces are. So as I'm lining up my invisible zipper, what I want to do, and this is exactly how I do it, is I try to make sure that one, we have it on the right side, but you want to make sure that you have your right sides facing each other, because when this zips up, you want it to, of course, be on the outside. So just putting that into place, but because I want this to be up higher, I'm going to just go ahead and bring that up. And this is the plastic stopper right here. Another thing that you can do is actually mark, like with marker, where you want it to come up to, and do it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold that down just to kind of give me like a little faux fold there. I'm just going to pin this in place very quickly so that way I can just kind of, I hate using pins because I was definitely about to pin myself into place. And then I'm just going to bring it down because I want to see, because I think that this is going to be super long and hit my pocket, which it is. So here's my pocket here. I'm obviously not going to come down that far. Now I'm like, Now I'm wondering, I wonder if that 7 to 9 inch would work out better. So let's just see. Let's see where that hits. So, okay, so I do think that this blue zipper might be a better fit. Just see how far, yeah, I think that this blue zipper just might be a better fit lengthwise, because I won't have to shorten it as much, which means that I will be able to use that beige one for something that I don't want to say that I actually need it for, but that I kind of actually need it for. Now, I highly recommend this, you doing as I say, not as I do for this, because I would absolutely make sure that you press this in place. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and trim down my interfacing so that way it's nicely lined up. I already trimmed it down on the other side. So I'm just going to trim it down so that this doesn't look bananas and it doesn't misbehave. I'm also going to make sure that all of my threads are trimmed, because one thing some thread will do is get caught up in that zipper, and then that zipper is going to be like, bye. So, putting our right sides together with the teeth away from the edge. Just going to go ahead, and I'm not going to pin that area down. And then with your invisible zipper foot, it actually has grooves in there that line up with the zipper. So what I'm doing now is I'm just making sure that this is inside of the groove. Sometimes it does take a second to get in there. I'm going to change my foot to being my 35. And when you are using one of your feet, one of the things that Bernina does, which I really like, is it has certain settings for each foot, right? Which I think is super important. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm just making sure that I am putting my my stitch length over enough. I feel like it needs to be over more. Actually, maybe I should just actually move it over. So I'm switching grooves now because I feel like it's not fitting in that one. And a lot of people will use like separate tools to like get this thing into the groove. There we go. Much better. There we go. So I'm just going to go down as far as it will let me go. And then I'm going to switch the sides. And then I'll come back and finish it with my regular zipper foot. So that's one side. And so when you fold it out, this is how it's looking. So now, oh, that's the pocket, not the other, not the back piece. Let's see. again, it looks like I need to trim down these edges over here, as well as right here, because that's not what we want for ourselves. Now, I did not already seal off these edges. And I keep saying edges because I'm Black and I talk about edges all the time. But I'm talking about, of course, the edge of the fabric, because I did not use my serger on that. What I am going to do is go back over it with my my fray stopper, my fray check, which I have right here. So I will go back over this zipper area with that. Just gonna move this over here. There we go. Now, this is a time that a lot of people will use pins, but we already know how I feel about pins, so that is not going to work for me. Okay. I feel like this fabric is not close enough to the machine, and so I keep trying to adjust it. And again, we're just going to sew this as low as it will let us go. And then we'll finish it with a regular foot. But to see what this looks like zippered up, it's going to be beautiful. So here we have our invisible zipper. I did not go as close as I possibly could have. I probably should have made my stitch, or rather my needle placing, a little bit closer. But that is a bad habit that I have when it comes to installing my zipper, my invisible zipper specifically, because of my fear. Now I'm going to take my regular zipper foot, which is my 4D. And I'm going to just make sure that things get tucked in, like at the start, at my top, because I do want to make sure that the this little top area gets tucked down nicely. I don't top stitch my my zipper in place, so to make this lay down flat, I am going to just go to the side like this. And as you can see here, when you put it to the side, it does line up flush. There we go. Oops, forgot to change my foot. So did that one side. And so when you put it off to the side that way, you can trim this down without worrying about whether or not there will be enough space. So you can just trim that down like so, and then you've got your zipper on in there. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. It's funny because like I've had friends who have like sewn through their fingers, and I'm like, how do you sew through your finger? This is how, right? Trying to just make sure that you get as close to whatever it is that you possibly can. And next thing you know, the needle is through your finger. It's never happened to me though. I'm not gonna say that this is like the reason why I have my nails done. I do have my nails done because I show them on camera. And because now I just like the way that that little bit of primping makes me feel. Okay, so trim that down as well. And so now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and just finish this in. I want to make sure that that gets put in nice and neatly. This is not like my area of expertise when it comes to like zipper installs and things like that. Not my area of expertise. It is something that I'm actively working on. So I'm just going to line up, of course, my pieces of fabric together. And I am going to use my clip just so that the fabric not lays down, but it stays closer together so that I'm fussing with it less. But here we go. Okay. I just want to check the back just to make sure. And so it's like, Veronica, why do I have to use my regular zipper foot? Because we're going to get really close to this zipper because I want to line up my seam right here, which you can do without your zipper foot, but it just comes out neater with your zipper foot. Okay. And so then let's take a look at what that looks like from the outside. Oops, sorry, y'all. So from the outside, this is what, it looks like. So as you can see here, this is where my zipper ends and it just kind of goes in cleanly. So for the swimsuit Nomi pattern, I usually cut a 20 for the patterns. It's 20 women, the same thing. 20 women is not the same thing. I would highly recommend sizing down for the swimsuit pattern. Like I typically cut, like, so I don't, based off of my measurements, I'm in between sizes for the Nomi patterns, right? But because of how those are drafted, I sized down and it was still a little big on me. So I will say that I do think that you can probably get away with sizing down and having it fit fine. So like if you're normally a 20 women, I would probably go down to like the 18 or the 16 women's. So now we're just going to be finishing up this side seam. And this is the last seam that we have to do. The last thing that we actually have to do is just hem. But first we're going to try it on because I want to see how much I have to hem. Because the first time I made this pattern, I did add rise. And I didn't necessarily need the rise added, which is why I didn't add it this time. And then here, this is, now that y'all are on this side of the table, I'm like, you all can see what I see. Let's see. There we go. So I didn't add any more rise this time. So I'm not exactly sure what this is going to look like as far as length on me. So we'll try it on and see first. And then I'll decide from there. And also I hate hemming, so there's also that small detail. Of course we will hem. But I don't know what that hemline is going to look like. Whew, yeah, so much fabric. I almost feel like I should have moved my machine to be on top of my cutting table. I'm like, this is almost how I felt when I was doing that quilt. Running out of space. Okay. So that's now finished. So let's go ahead and try this on so that we can kind of see how things are feeling. Let me see. So I'm going to just retie my, there we go. I'm going to retie these like straps so that they're actually able to use as straps versus so I'm going to pull them up to here for right now just to kind of see how that fits. I'm going to leave this side open because this is our entry into our garment. Let's flip it right side out. It is super colorful. I'm loving it. Ah, this looks so good, y'all. Okay, so let me step off camera. No trying to peek at me, okay? I'm sure that there will be some kind of fat shaming comment when I post this. Okay, like, let me take off this mic. Let's zipper this up. Okay, so one of the things that I do wish that I had done was put in like a hook and eye closure. Which I still might go back and do. But it's also because, like, I get a little scared about putting zippers by my boobs for the obvious reason of, you know, I had surgery. Not that I have had any traumas to my boobs since since surgery. But your girl is like just ever so slightly scared. So, and here, we can take a look at what this is looking like. So my back strap, I accidentally, when I put it on, it got tucked in. But I'm loving even how this is like looking as a strapless vibe. So let us tie this. Okay, so there we go. And so this is it. This is really cute. I'm loving it. So we've got our pockets. This strap could be a little tighter, like up there, but let's see. Put y'all nice and high up so that we can see this. And I can take a step back. And boom, we're done. So as far as hemming it goes, I don't really feel like I need to, as we can see, like that strap needs to be on tighter, but like I think that I can just stick with a like 1-inch hem. But she's cute. I do need to press it, but this is it. Very, very cute. Super simple, as you guys saw. There is the ability to take the straps down still and kind of wear it strapless if I wanted to. I think that that would be an easy possibility for me. Not like have a nip slip. But like, I feel like I could still do it strapless if I wanted to, which is a very different fit than what I feel like a lot of the people are wearing or how they're wearing it, where the bodice is really loosey-goosey. That personally would not work for me because I hate the way that rubbing fabric feels, and my chest is kind of hypersensitive after surgery. So I prefer a more fitted option. For those that were here in the beginning or want to catch the beginning as the recording, I did talk about how I chose my size based off of the finished measurements and not necessarily what my size measurement is, right? Because, and I did that with intention because I do not necessarily want this to be moving around because one, I have areas that are hypersensitive because of the mastectomy, but then there's other areas that I just can't feel anything in. And I don't necessarily want to have a potential like slip where I get a little inappropriate, right? So for me, having it fitted works. I also love how having it fitted gives you the versatility of either utilizing the straps or just simply not, right? My straps are down, don't necessarily need them. I really, really love that as an option. So, yeah, this is it. I'm going to probably put in a hem at some point today. But thank you so much for joining me. And also because of how much ease is in this fabric, I did not end up doing the understitching in the pockets to make sure that it did not look like a vagina. And as you can see, we are not giving vagina on the sides of our hips. So I feel like that's good. Yeah, I will try to add more YouTube lives because I really do enjoy using this as a platform. And that's it. Thank you all so much for joining. Can you hit the exit check for me? Can you? I don't think I have that option. And also for fabric, like for all of my Ankara girlies, if you just order like the 6 yard pack, or the 6 yard bolt, you'll be able to get this out of there. So I also have another one right here. I think I actually put this. Can you guys hear me now? Actually, I think that my mic needs to be charged. So I think it went out because of that. But we're back. We're back. Okay. Plugging my mic in. So yeah, I'm sure that it is back with feedback. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and end this live now. If you missed it and if you're like, hey, I want to sew this along, definitely come back and rewatch it. I would appreciate you rewatching it anyway, simply because your girl is trying to monetize my YouTube. So yeah. That is it for me. Again, this was the Tate Romper that I used in Ankara 100% cotton fabric in order to make. Very, very easy. The hardest part, again, we're turning the straps. As far as what you need in order to complete this project, you do need some interfacing. I did interface one side, or this main fabric piece, on the outside. And then you just need about between 5 and 6 yards of fabric. So here it is. This is a perfect transitional piece from summer to fall because you can layer this. Great layering option. I can put this on with a bodysuit. I can put this on with long sleeves. I can use a cardigan to cover it up. So there's so many different options as far as styling goes. If you all want to see a styling video for how I style mine, definitely let me know and I can put those together as well. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and end this live. Thank you so much for joining with me. And I will see you all Thursday for when we sew along on the Clock app. We'll be sewing along my pattern that dropped today, which is the Aurora Playsuit. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all then. And I might get with Karma to see about adding it to a Sunday service lineup as well. I hope you all have a fantastic Tuesday.